Welcome back to another video. Today, we're gonna be breaking down some tips that are gonna help you catch fish. Right now, I sat down with Brad Hawthorne right before this big giant flurry of weather that we just got, and he shared some good tips that'll help you improve your rattle reel systems and also setting up just location-wise on the lake. So without further ado, let's jump right in.
When you go into weather like this, a lot of times we just put the jig rods away. I hate to say that, but we do. You know, everyone likes catching fish on a rod and reel, but sometimes the most effective thing is to put the rattle reels down and let Mother Nature do her thing. Now, one of the best lures I have in my arsenal is the Forage Minnow jig for a set line lure. And you may think, Brad, we know, we've been hanging that on our rattle reels for 20 years. 6 inches to a foot off the bottom. That's not what I'm doing with these lures. These lures, as you guys know, I catch a lot of fish on them in the winter by using them as jigging spoons because they have a great action. They always, when you go slackline, they always lay it like this right on the bottom. So what I do with this in the winter is I hook my fathead minnow or very, very small shiner on this. So your profile is about this big on this forage. And I set this whole thing down on the bottom, so this lays just like this on the bottom of the lake. Now you can't do this in really, really muddy conditions, so a tip for you when you're using this, when you're laying this on the bottom, and this is on a tight line, so this is how this sits. So when a fish bites it, you have to give it line instantly on your rattle reel setup. You have to. So it sits like that, and when a minnow comes, it'll wiggle it and move it around a little bit, and that's what's going to get that fish to strike. The minnow's literally pinned to the bottom of the lake and can't go anywhere. But again, to make sure that you're fishing this effectively, you need to put your aqua view down and make sure that this jig is above the bottom. So if it's too muddy, you can't use this. So heavy silt, it works. Right now we're on sandy silt, it works. It basically covers up about half the lure, which is perfect, and leaves it out just enough for it to wiggle, give a little flash, give a little glow, just that little subtle difference and action that make the fish bite. Again, remember, this is on the bottom on a tight line with a minnow, and you're relying on the minnow to do his job when the walleye come by. So I'm gonna get a minnow on here. I'm gonna show you exactly how I rig it, and then we're gonna send it down, and I'll go over how I have the rattle reel set.
Brad has spent a ton of time dialing in his system when it comes to rattle reels, and he's got a lot of interesting things to say, but this next tip where he talks a little bit more about hooking the minnow and kind of positioning in the water column, to me this is one of the more interesting tips that you'll probably get from this video.
So I have my fathead here. Now here's where you want good quality bait. Everyone's got their favorite bait store. Make sure your fatheads are fresh or your small shiners are fresh. You don't want to be using old bait. And I go in there just past the lips and just scrape the front end of that skull. You see that? And a lot of times if you're worried about the minnow wiggling off, you can take a glow bead and slide that glow bead right over the top. So if you're having problems, if your minnows are a little old, slide a glow bead right on there, and that'll keep that minnow pinned on there. You know, and the other thing, what you want to do with these, especially on slow bites, you want to change your minnows often. Every couple hours, put a new fathead on. They're cheap. They're $3 to $5 a scoop. Put a new one on, let it do its job, and I'm gonna get this guy down there. I'm gonna get him working. So I'm gonna show you how I set this. Again, we're like 29, 30 feet here. Here's my sinker. Here's the forage. I actually got my gain set a little bit hot on that, but I'll bounce that down a little bit. There we go. We keep lowering that, and now I'm going to go off. Once I get to about here, I'm going to go off a feel. You see that? That brought in a fish. That's actually a fish right there. My lure is below him. Watch this. That's my lure, and that's a fish that actually came down. There's actually a couple of them. But here, I'm not gonna worry about this right now. I'm gonna try to catch this fish on this technique. I know I'm on the bottom. I just lost weight right there. So what I'm feeling right now, all that is just my sinker. So I'm gonna reel that up on my rattle reel, and I'm just gonna put a slight amount of tension, And now I'm gonna show you a trick to keep this pinned. I don't want all that tension by using my drag on my rattle reel. I'm gonna take a depth bomb, just like that, and now I'm gonna open up the drag on my rattle reel. Now when a fish takes this, he's not gonna poke at it when it's on the bottom. The fish is gonna pop it. And when he does that, that's gonna hit the rattle reel, and that's gonna make that rattle reel, because of this weight, go around 2 or 3 times and instantly give you some slack line in the hole. So when you go after this, don't let them take this presentation too long. Go after this, set the hook like you normally would, not too hard, but this is not a presentation where you let the fish run for 3, 4, 5 feet. If it goes, give them a little bit of line and then smack them. So I hope this tip, guys, actually, now my other setup is just a plain hook. Number 8 hook, 16, 18 inches away from a 1/4 ounce sinker, lively minnow. So I kind of go back and forth between the two on slow bites. So I hope this helps you guys when you're out on Mille Lacs, Leech, or any of the big lakes in the state of Minnesota, when you got bad weather coming in on the weekends. This is a technique I use. Put the jig rods away, or maybe use them to call fish in, but rely on these subtle techniques and subtle differences to set up your rattle reels and your set lines to catch more walleye.
Most of you probably have your rattle reels set up with a good amount of fly line directly on your rattle reel, and then a swivel down to a fluorocarbon leader, which goes down to your bait. And that's a great strategy, but one mistake that a lot of people make is not having enough of that leader line. So Brad is gonna talk a little bit about just that.
People that follow go, God, Brad's been beating up this tip line thing for years, and the reason I have is because in the winter, Mille Lacs gets extremely clear. We have zebra mussels, we have 0 wave action, we have 0 runoff into the lake, so that clarity level where they say, oh, Mille Lacs got 16 feet of clarity, I can tell you for free that is false. Right now, we drilled out some areas on the southeast corner of the lake where in 26 feet of water, we could see the rocks on the bottom. You could see your spoon on the bottom. That's how clear it is. So use longer tip line. Right now, I'm in, 28, 29 feet. My tip line starts at basically the end of the ice, where the ice starts at the bottom of the hole. Here, I'll show you. Right there, that's where my tip line starts. Right there, that is it. So you may think, gosh, that's really, that's way too much tip line, and it's not. You think of your slip bobber setup, or if you guys have ever been spoon fishing and your spoon is 3 feet below the hole and the fish is already on the bottom in 30 feet of water, already reacting to it, it makes sense. They see it, they can feel it. So if you're a guy that's using 3 feet, 6 feet, 10 feet, and you have this fly line, this high-vis fly line, the fish can see that. Trust me, they can see that. So if you want to up your catch rates, especially on slower bites with weather and things coming in, lengthen that tip line out. Basically, I use the fly line as an ice guard. If the fish runs, that's basically what I use it for, and to be able to see the line moving when I'm running around the Yeti, taking care of the kids or moving stuff around. So just keep that in your log. And here's another way to put it. Use longer tip line. You're gonna catch more fish, and it's only costing you about 20 more cents to put 10 more feet on. And as a bonus, fluorocarbon also sinks, so you get a nice straight pull on your line and it's more sensitive.
Last up, Brad is gonna share some simple yet effective location tips that'll help you make sure you're fishing where the fish live.
So back to talking about where I put the wheelhouse when we're going into unfavorable weather conditions, unfavorable bite conditions, late in the season, all these play a factor. And here's where I'm sitting right now. Like, I've got this big old Yeti piled right on a 1 foot contour right out here. So I'm on a little high spot. I'm right there on the edge of it, and it's kind of an indescript spot. It's out of the way. There's not a lot of traffic around me. And when fishing gets tough, fishing gets tough late in the season, high winds, bad weather, things like that. Fish don't tolerate a lot. It's not early season where you can throw down a rusty hook and a fathead and catch fish. This is late season, and paying attention to detail counts. So I'm on the edge of this little hump, and I've got set lines down. I got forage minnow jig laying on the bottom with a lively minnow. I've got plain hook up front. We're really kind of dialing in this bite. So when you guys go out, look for those little, it doesn't have to be a sharp break that goes from 30 feet to 26 feet. You can fish these little out of the way 1 foot humps, 2 foot humps out in the middle of nowhere and catch fish when it's slow. And these are the bedroom areas where the walleyes come when they have full bellies and they just want to relax. And there's also a lot of perch out here, there's a lot of bugs out here, there's a lot of snack food out here for those fish to eat.
Well, that's about all we got for you in this video. Hopefully you're able to take a few of those tips from Brad and catch a few more fish before this season is up. It won't be too long before the ice is gone, but if you learned something and you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that little red subscribe button down below, because we have a lot more content coming in the future. Appreciate all you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.